Welcome to another installment of the Walking Classroom, where we put learning into action. My name is Lily, and I'm joined by Joseph. We are here with our teacher, Mrs. Fenn, and we will be teaming up today to bring you another educational podcast.
Remember that as we walk, only one ear should be covered with an earbud or headphone, so you can still pay attention to your surroundings while you walk. You should do your best to keep a quick pace, and be sure to stay with the group.
Think of our group as a walking team of learners.
I like that. A team of learners. It makes it sound like we're all in this together. And when it comes right down to it, we really are all in this together. We're like an educational walking team.
You have no idea how true that actually is. There are really walking teams that compete with each other for the world championships and everything. There are race walking teams all over the world. These teams train with a coach, just like football players or soccer players, or gymnasts do here in the USA.
Playing team sports can build confidence. People who choose to play any sport can learn the importance of practice. Practice helps each athlete improve his or her own personal best. Not everybody is a professional athlete, but we're all capable of participating in some type of sport.
And race walking is a sport I never heard of before. Me, I play baseball. My team didn't win the championship last season, but we sure had a great time playing together. Being part of a team is a good thing. It's nice to know that my teammates have my back, that they're there to help me if I miss a catch or overthrow first base.
A friend from my basketball team helped me with my math homework the other night. Believe me, the assignment had nothing to do with basketball.
Exactly. Being part of a team isn't just about what happens on the baseball field or the basketball court. And staying in shape is only one of the benefits of playing team sports. Team players keep their bodies at a healthy weight and make new friends with the other kids on the team.
And remember, guys, it takes more than one race to go to the championships. In the words of the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Miss Fenn, do you have to bring poetry into everything?
Well, technically, I guess the answer is yes. I kind of see poetry in everything. Which reminds me, aren't you two working on a poetry assignment?
'Tis true, 'tis true. We have poetry for you.
Just to warn you, I'm not a huge fan of poetry. Like I said before, I prefer baseball.
Who says poetry and baseball don't mix? Our assignment is about a type of poem that's sort of a mix between a poem and a story. Narrative poems. Most narrative poems are longer than regular poems, if there even is such a thing as a regular poem. There's no rule book for poetry like there is in baseball. Anyway, since narrative poems tell a whole story, the poet usually needs to make it long enough to actually tell a story.
I suppose that's really true if you think about it. I mean, roses are red, violets are blue. Here's a great story. It's over, boo-hoo.
Well, there's no rule for how long a narrative poem has to be, but unfortunately your beautiful example would not qualify in the narrative poem group.
I know. I was just being goofy. I mean, every story needs a plot and characters and a setting. I can't imagine making that happen in 4 little lines. 4 little lines does make a stanza, though. Remember what a stanza is? It's a group of lines in a poem that are grouped together. I always think of them as the chunks a poem is broken into.
Right, and the narrative poem that we're learning about is filled with stanzas that tell a great story. But before we jump into reading the poem, let's review a little history of the poem we were assigned. Casey at the Bat by Ernest Thayer. It was first published in a newspaper called the San Francisco Examiner in 1888. Ernest Thayer didn't take credit for writing the poem. He used a fake name. He called himself Finn. That's Phin. The poem became so popular that a lot of people claimed they'd written it.
That's just wrong. You can't take credit for someone else's work.
Well, the truth about Ernest Thayer being the real author came out in the end. As a matter of fact, Thayer's poem became so famous that people used it as the plot for a full-length movie. Walt Disney even made a cartoon movie about it. All from one little narrative poem.
Let's get started.
Great idea. I'm looking forward to combining some walking with some good old storytelling.
Can we read it stanza by stanza? You know, chunk by chunk? Then we'll stop and discuss what each stanza means?
Sure, we could do that.
I'll say it again. Let's get started.
Okay. Remember, narrative poems are also called narrative poems because they seem to have a narrator. You know, the person telling the story. Do you want to start telling the story with the first chunk?
I would love to.
Okay, but before you begin, remember that although narrative poems tell a story, they should still sort of be read like poetry. So take your time and don't rush through it.
Got it. Here goes. Casey at the Bat by Ernest Thayer. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2, with but one inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game.
Well, it seems like this baseball team isn't having such a great game. It says the score stood 2-4, with but one inning left to play. I mean, this is the last inning, and they're losing by 2 runs. The home team only has 1 inning left to try to make a comeback. I bet the fans are really nervous. I would be if my team were playing. Then it said Cooney died at first, and Barrows did the same.
So they didn't really die. My guess is that the first 2 batters are just out. There's only 1 out left. Hey, this poem is starting to tell me a story.
Let's find out what happens next. I'll take the next stanza. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to that hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought, if only Casey could get but a whack at that, we'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat.
Wait, I can't believe some of the fans are giving up and leaving. I'm glad some of them stayed around to keep the hope alive. I'm not sure who Casey is, but he sounds like he's got a good reputation as a ball player. I predict he's coming up to bat.
Joe, I'm glad you're enjoying the story, but you do remember the title of the poem, Casey at the Bat?
I guess you got me there. My prediction is kind of obvious. Let's see if old Casey can get his team out of this one. Here's the next stanza of the poem. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake, and the former was a Lulu, and the latter was a cake. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey's getting to the bat. Oh man, Casey isn't even up next? It said that 2 other players, Flynn and Blake, were up before Casey. There's already 2 outs. Upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat. Those are some big words.
True, but I think it's just saying the crowd was really losing all hope of winning this one. Upon that stricken multitude, it's a much more poetic and interesting way of saying the shocked crowd. And grim melancholy sat definitely creates a stronger image in the reader's mind than just saying the people had sad faces. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Well, those 2 batters had to do something to keep the game alive. I'll keep reading, or narrating. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted, and the men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second, and Flynn a hugging third.
All right, they did it! Now Casey can come to bat and bring the guy at second and the guy on third home for 2 runs.
2 runs? Maybe Casey will knock it out of the park and bring in 3 more runs. Can I read what happens next?
Go for it. Wait, I thought you said you weren't a fan of poetry.
Well, this isn't really like poetry, and I am a fan of baseball, so let's keep reading. Then from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It knocked upon the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing, and a smile on Casey's face. And when, responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat, no stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat.
This Casey seems pretty confident.
The crowd loves him. I'll take the next stanza. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. Then, while the rising pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance gleamed in Casey's eye. A sneer curled Casey's lip. I can totally picture this happening. I mean, I can hear the crowd and see his lip curling. Let's keep going.
And now the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air, and Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. I never swing at the first pitch. I can't blame him. There are 2 more strikes to go anyway.
Yeah, I know. But when it's the last out of a game and it's all on your shoulders, it's not a good idea to let a strike pass you by.
I'll take the next stanza. From the benches, black with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone on the stand, and it's likely they'd have killed him had not Casey raised his hand.
I guess you could say these baseball fans did not like the call the umpire made on that pitch.
You think? No worries. It's Casey, right? He's gonna come through.
My turn to read. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike 2."
This part really makes it sound like Casey quieted the crowd of cheering fans and then told the pitcher it was okay for him to pitch. It's like Casey is running the show all by himself.
Wait, the poem says Casey ignored the pitch. What is he thinking? There's only 1 strike to go.
We better read the next stanza and find out how all this plays out. Get it?
I'll let you take the next chunk.
Thanks. "Fraud!" cried the maddened thousands, and echo answered fraud. But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. And they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again.
That's right, he won't. My turn. The sneer is gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. I knew it! The air was shattered by the force of Casey's blow. What a game ender!
Hold on. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's 1 more stanza to go.
It's probably the crowd goes wild stanza.
I'll read it. "Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out."
No way!
Yes way! Isn't that poem awesome? Finn totally got you.
Finn? Oh, right. Ernest Thayer's original pen name. Finn totally fooled me.
Your face was hilarious when the poem ended. Weren't you surprised how really easy it was to follow the poem when we took it stanza by stanza?
It was pretty easy.
I agree. But it's important to go back and reread narrative poems without stopping all the time, just to appreciate the story.
Let's do that when we get back to class.
That's exactly what we're going to do. In the meantime, let's think about Casey. Was he too confident? His athletic ability is obvious, but did his confidence help or hurt his team? Can you think of a time in your life when you were or were not confident in your abilities? Did you learn anything from that experience? Discuss those questions with a partner as we finish up our walk, our educational walking team.
Yes, Coach.
Happy trails.